It was to a point where I couldn't even function. The best moment of my life. Is something wrong? This is very worrisome. Hello there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah. I post all about vegan and cruelty-free fashion, beauty, and lifestyle things. And if you're new to my channel, I am with child. So I'm sure you knew that by clicking the thumbnail. For those of you who have been around for a while, I promise that my channel is not gonna become like a family channel or like mommy blogger channel. I obviously share my life, so I'll be sharing bits and pieces of that, but I fully have every intention of maintaining the interests that are what caused me to start this YouTube channel, which is beauty, fashion, and just general vegan life. So please do not worry if this type of video is not for you. I totally understand. You do not have to watch it. There was a time in my life where I would have not watched these kinds of videos and did not care and did not watch them. Probably honestly didn't even watch them until I became pregnant, if I'm being completely honest. So I totally understand if it's not for you. But because I am pregnant, I found a lot of comfort in these videos because your body goes through so many changes. There's so many things that people don't tell you, and every pregnancy is different. So you may have people in your real life who are like, oh yeah, my pregnancy was like this, I went through this, I went through that, and then your pregnancy is nothing like that. I found it to be a great resource to watch these types of videos and just kind of be like, oh, like that was one of my symptoms. I feel less alone, or I feel less scared knowing that she also went through that. So that's why I want to make this. And I'm going to be talking about body things. I don't feel awkward talking about these types of things, but if you don't like that type of stuff, then don't watch this video. I guess we can start with when I first found out I was pregnant. So I actually thought I was pregnant many times before actually being pregnant, and it's crazy what your mind will do to you. I was like, they call it symptom spotting, where you think that, you know, you have pregnancy symptoms and then you're not pregnant. Or, you know, I guess you could symptom spot and be pregnant, but in my case, I was not. And so the time that I was actually pregnant, I had no symptoms whatsoever. And I'm a very big fan of tracking my cycle. I've been doing it for years and years and years. I did start using one of those apps just to see if my cycle was regular, and I really enjoyed tracking my symptoms and just seeing how my cycles were similar in certain ways and different in certain ways. So I had been obviously tracking my symptoms before this next cycle. It was very normal, all of my symptoms, like to the day when they started, were period symptoms, you know, like my boobs were sore, I felt a little bit of cramping, I was getting a little bloated. All of those were symptoms that were starting as they normally would when I would get my period. I thought that I was getting my period. I even had a little bit of spotting, which I'll get into because that is something that's not talked about very often. So I thought there was no way that I was pregnant. I ended up taking a pregnancy test just because I had this like instinct to take one. And part of it was also just, you know, watching people trying to conceive on the internet. I found it comforting to see people have a few negative tests as well, and I hadn't filmed any negative tests, so I was like, I'm gonna film this one and just see. I filmed it fully expecting to like probably never do anything with this, but I had 2 pink lines, and I took another pregnancy test immediately after that, and pregnant. I could not process it. It took a long time, and I think one of the things that freaked me out the most was that I really didn't have any pregnancy symptoms. All my symptoms were period symptoms, and I feel like I know my body really well, so it felt confusing to me. Of course, like I said, I had the spotting, which to me, once finding out I was pregnant, I was like, is something wrong? This is very worrisome. And what you don't really hear a lot about is that spotting, especially in early pregnancy, is very, very common. And some women spot throughout their pregnancy and it's fine. Obviously, if you're pregnant and spotting, please call your doctor first. But when you first become pregnant, there's something called implantation bleeding where the embryo or whatever is, I'm not a doctor, but whatever, is attaching itself to your uterus, I think. So you have a little bit of spotting or bleeding. And so once I researched that, I felt a lot more comfortable, and of course told my doctor as soon as I was able to make an appointment and see her. There were no symptoms that told me I was pregnant at all. Once I found out I was pregnant, I then of course started to tune in a little bit more, and one of the things I did notice was that my sense of smell was really, really distinct in those first few weeks of finding out. It wasn't like anything would smell bad, it just, I felt like my sense of smell was heightened. Like I felt like a dog, like I could smell everything, and like it felt like I had just eaten wasabi and my nasal passages were super clear. So that was one thing that I definitely noticed. And then I would say for the first few weeks, like after finding out, I really, really had no symptoms, which is not very comforting in a weird way. Like, of course, I would have friends who would have terrible, terrible morning sickness and just be feeling terrible those first few weeks after. And obviously I'm not envious of that, but there was a part of me that was like, oh, it would be nice to have some sort of comfort in like knowing that you're pregnant, because I really didn't feel anything for those first few weeks. And I thought I was gonna be, I was like, maybe I'm one of the lucky ones. Everything's all good and I'm just not having any symptoms. They came, don't worry. After those first few weeks, feeling fine, I had my first doctor's appointment at 7 weeks, which was to hear the heartbeat, which was the best appointment of my life. I like could cry thinking about it. Because up until that point, you're just walking around like, I guess there's a baby in there, I don't know. But I got to see the little bean, which quite literally looks like a little bean on the screen. Just tiny, tiny little blob. And I got to hear the heartbeat, which was the best moment of my life. I can't explain it. It was amazing. Truly, truly incredible. It was just the most reassuring thing. Like I instantly cried, like you can tell I'm getting like emotional now. I instantly cried because it just made me feel so at ease that like, that was the one thing that reassured me, like, okay, like I actually am pregnant. After that appointment, I would say that's when like I really started to feel pregnant. Maybe it was a mental thing, but I also think just symptom wise, more symptoms started kicking in. I definitely was eating like nothing but carbs. Honestly, I don't even think I looked at a vegetable for those first few weeks. I was eating grilled cheeses, everything vegan, of course. I shouldn't even have to disclaim, but you know, grilled cheeses, mac and cheese, pasta. I went through a sandwich kick and I was eating nothing but sandwiches literally every single day. Like I would have a sandwich for lunch and dinner. Like that was like how bad my sandwich addiction was. And then all of a sudden I was eating a sandwich on my lunch break and I was like, I'm gonna be sick. Like this is disgusting. Like I cannot finish it. And I'm not the type of person to not finish food. Like I will eat every last bit of food on the plate. No food left behind. And if I'm taking leftovers, I'm eating it within an hour. Yeah, I literally could not finish it. So that was my first food aversion, I would say, but I was still interested in carbs after that, just not sandwiches. So like any form of carb that was not a sandwich, I was eating. Burritos, oh, bean and cheese burritos, like just anything that was like really bland and filling. And I think that was because I was just so tired. Like that is one thing I feel like people talk about being tired in the first trimester. There is nothing like this type of tired. I have, you know, had many a sleepless night, pulled all-nighters, and there is nothing that prepares you for the type of tiredness that the first trimester of pregnancy brings you. My friend Molly, Fashion Veggie on Instagram, if you guys follow her, she was like, it's a to the bones tired. And I was like, that's the best way to explain it. It's just so all-encompassing. I feel like my body was just like, I need carbs to maintain energy because I'm so exhausted. And somebody else told me that that during the first trimester, your body burns as many calories as running a marathon each day. And it makes sense because you're literally growing an extra organ that your body doesn't have, and then you're growing a tiny human. So your body is just doing so much work and you're really tired, but you're not doing anything. And that's the most frustrating part, especially for somebody who thrives off of chaos, loves to be busy, loves to be moving constantly. I literally couldn't. I just had to like sleep. I would sleep on my lunch break. I'd get off work, I'd sleep some more. I would sleep until my alarm went off and then do it all over again. And it was just rough. Lots and lots of fruit, lots of citrus. I think like the first few weeks after finding out, I probably ate like 4 bags of oranges, like just so much fruit, smoothies every morning for breakfast, just like all the citrus. And very strange. I obviously love fruit. Who doesn't? But I would never eat it in like these massive amounts that I was eating in the first trimester. And the other thing I was eating was a lot of sweets, which was very out of character for me. I'm not a sweets girl. My friends know I'm not like the type of person to be like, we have to order dessert. Like I'd rather order 2 appetizers than get 1 appetizer and a dessert. I'm just like, I can have like 1 or 2 bites of dessert and obviously I'll never turn it down if it's in front of my face, but I'm just not a person that craves sweets very often. I way more crave salty foods like French fries and stuff. So that was kind of out of character too. One thing that a lot of people told me is just to keep eating and like eating throughout the day, because the lack of eating is what causes nausea. And that was something I was really scared of, is morning sickness. So I definitely was more conscious of like snacking throughout the day and just listening to my body. And then I would say things got to the worst symptom-wise around week 9 and 10. Up until that point, it was just like tiredness, some waves of nausea, definitely every single night getting headaches, and that still happens to this day. I'm 15 weeks and 3 days today as of filming this. Still get headaches every single day. Week 9 and 10, I was just getting headaches all day, feeling nauseous all day. The best way to describe it is like you feel like you're hungover 24/7. It's like a very dull hangover. You know that hangover when you just have like 1 glass too many and you're like, shouldn't have had that last drink. Should not have had that last drink. But it's just like, just enough where you're like, I feel okay enough to function, but I really wish I didn't have that last drink. Like that's how you feel for 2 straight weeks, all day. And the only relief is sleeping. But like I said, I was just napping as much as possible and sleeping as much as possible. And that was really hard because I just felt like, is this ever gonna end? Am I ever gonna be my normal self again? I had always thought, you know, if I got pregnant, you think like, oh, I have 9 months to get ready for this. I will do all my deep cleaning, do all, you know, my purging of like things we don't need, get ready for baby. I've got 9 months, I'm gonna be on it. Like I'm gonna plan and nest and like do all the things. Like, you know, Jesse and I were talking about like doing meal plans and like, no, like none of that was happening. And like I said, that was just my personal experience. I have a lot of friends who are pregnant right now with me, thankfully. And I feel very grateful to be able to like have their experiences and hear what their experiences are at the same time I'm going through my own. And I have a few friends who are just like, don't even have hardly any symptoms like me. They're like, yeah, I'm tired and I eat a lot. And I'm like, okay, but are you tired? Like, and are you eating a lot? Because this just feels extreme. And then I have other friends who literally have morning sickness every single day, well into like 20 weeks, which is insane. Hats off to those of you who experience morning sickness to that degree. Just me feeling like hungover and tired was really hard. I cannot imagine on top of that dealing with the extra nauseousness and the sickness. So I feel very grateful at least that, you know, my situation wasn't as bad as some others, but I do think, you know, there's probably other people who have it easier. You just really never know. One thing I hear a lot too is that every pregnancy is different. So like, you know, one baby might give you severe morning sickness and the next baby might not. So you never know. I would say that I started to feel better after week 10, like week 11 and 12, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get my groove back. And then all of a sudden, literally the day week 13 hit, I had the worst migraine I've ever had in my life. And it lasted all day long. And it was to a point where I couldn't even function. And that was the only time I've gotten sick so far in my pregnancy, was the day I hit 13 weeks, was after that migraine. I think I had probably been suffering from it for like 6 hours. And then I went to like eat food and I just like immediately knew I was gonna be sick. So sorry, I should put trigger warning if you don't like to hear about this stuff. I would assume you wouldn't click on a first trimester pregnancy video. Another thing I wanted to talk about was working out. I also had this delusional vision that I would be working out more than ever in my pregnancy. My workout of choice is Pure Barre. If you've been around for a while, you know I've done it for years and years and years, but it is a very, very good workout for pregnant women. It's very low impact, not a lot of high cardio. I've always seen women in there that are like 8 months pregnant, ready to pop, and it's really cool to watch. So I always had this delusion that I would be one of those pregnant people who worked out, you know, at least 3 to 4 days a week in my pregnancy. And nope, that did not happen. I did not work out probably at all for like the first month, probably first month and a half actually. I was just too tired. There was no way. And then I would say I finally got to a point where I was working out 2 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. And I found that the only times I could bring myself to work out was during my lunch break. So I would find the 12 o'clock class and I would just go to those during the week, because early in the morning, I could not do it. I was way too tired, and late at night or after work, I was way too tired. Again, I would just log off the computer and just go straight to bed. So definitely no working out for me. I'm finally now in a place, I feel like towards the end of my first trimester, and now I'm in a place where I feel better about working out. And I still have good days and bad days. So some days are like, it's out of the question. And then some days I'm like, I can do whatever. I can conquer the world today. I'm hopeful that in the second trimester, I can get into a nice solid routine, just because I know it's good for myself, it's good for the baby to work out, and I just personally feel more like myself when I work out. Then typically you would have your 12-week ultrasound. I had an appointment at 11 weeks where they did another ultrasound, and they also did the NIPT test, which is a blood test that they can do. It checks for genetic things, and then it also can find out the sex of your baby. So I did that. My doctor recommends it for all of her patients because she figures the more information, the better. Why not? And I totally support that. So I got to see the baby on that ultrasound at 11 weeks, and that was so exciting because that was the first time that baby looked like a baby. And it blew my mind because I forget what fruit size the baby was at that point, but it was still really small, but yet the features looked like an actual baby. Like there's a head, there's a nose, there's little arms and legs, and really exciting. That's still my favorite ultrasound picture to this day, is the 11-week one, because I feel like I got a really good profile shot of the baby, and the baby looks just so cute there. Then I had my 12-week ultrasound right after that. And that is where you go to like an ultrasound facility, and it's a lot longer. They do a lot of like measurements and things, again, just to kind of see if there's anything that stands out that should be of concern. And everything thankfully looked great. And that was also really fun because Jesse got to go to that appointment, and he got to see the baby like actually move on the screen. So I had gotten to see that at the 11-week appointment, but he didn't get to see that. So he got to see that at the 12-week appointment. And that is just so cool and so surreal, especially because you can't feel the baby kicking yet. So it's just like, what that is happening in my body right now? Like, I don't understand. I cannot compute. As far as like supplementation goes, I don't feel comfortable really like talking about what you should do in that scenario because everybody's different. I know a lot of times people just assume that vegans need extra supplementation, but I had a blood test done before getting pregnant and while getting pregnant, and they tested my levels on everything. And if there's anything concerning about your levels, your doctor will let you know. And luckily I had no concern with any of my levels. Obviously I take my vegan prenatal vitamins and that's it. But so far everything's been great. So if anything, I feel like being vegan and pregnant is like the best because my friends who are not vegan who are pregnant have had to eliminate a lot of their favorite meals from their life. Whereas, you know, me, I still eat vegan sushi. I'm still eating the vegan tofurkey. I'm still eating the cheeses, every soft cheese you can ever imagine. So that's been very nice. And obviously, you know, I know there's differing opinions out there on what you can and can't have as a pregnant person, and I'm not your doctor, so talk to your doctor. Yeah, but if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to address them in my next video. Like I said, I'm still gonna be doing beauty, lifestyle, fashion, all that good stuff on this channel, so don't worry. This is not just gonna become a pregnancy channel, but this is a big moment in my life and I'm excited to share it and hopefully offer some help or some reassurance for any other mamas to be out there. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Stick around, let's be friends, and I will see you guys next time in another video. Bye.